Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Gita here. I hope you are all doing well. Today I'm coming to you from my garden, and the reason why is because I would have probably filmed this video like a top down with my phone, but I've been having issues recently trying to send files from my phone to my computer. Always something, right? And I'm like so tech, even though anyway, I just feel like I'm technically impaired, even though I do work with computers. Not computers, but I do all my work on computers, right? I'm not like in IT or something, obviously. Um, but anyway, so rather than just film with my usual backdrop, I said let me switch up the scenery for you guys. So I'm gonna try and talk at a reasonable volume so you can hear me despite the wind blowing outside. So today we are talking about a bunch of things. It's an umbrella. This is an umbrella video. It's gonna be rambly. It's gonna cover a lot of topics, but a lot of topics that have been trending recently have been in the spotlight, in discussion recently across TarotTube, and this is around tarot consumerism, binging, and tarot and income equality in TarotTube and the new tarot market. Um, so this is most of you will know that this is a response to Mistress Ray's video. She put out a video called "Am I poor or do I just have a shopping addiction? Income equality and tarot collecting," or something like that. It's something along those lines. She published this video about 2 to 3 weeks ago, and it received a ton of attention, both good and bad. If you haven't checked out the video, which I'm sure you have, but if you haven't, because I do have some people that follow me that aren't actually into the tarot community, that aren't as invested in the tarot community, so they may not have seen this video, and you should check it out because it is quite insightful and authentic, and I mean, yeah, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody, but it's interesting. It's an interesting sort of reveal of the zeitgeist, the current. I feel like it feels like it speaks to something of the current zeitgeist that we're in with tarot becoming mainstream, right? And the mainstreaming of tarot and all the implications that that brings. Tarot has become extremely popular in recent years, and we're having more decks released every day, and more people are becoming interested in tarot. And as more people become interested in tarot, the market for tarot expands. Tarot has largely been pretty much an untapped market because it's been so niche all these years, for decades and centuries that it's been in existence. But call it the age of Aquarius, call it, I don't know, just like modern apocalypse fucking impending. I don't know what it is, but everybody wants to be a fortune teller these days. And yeah, so tarot has become extremely popular, and with that, we've seen the rise in pricing of tarot decks. When indie deck publishing, when the indie deck market, I think, was first sort of expanding in a mainstream way, maybe about 10 years ago. I would say that most indie decks were like around the range of like 60 bucks for a sort of really top dollar one. And now we're seeing decks come out left, right, and center. Just starting at like $70 and up. And Mistress Ray, in this video, she was bemoaning her frustration about not being able to experience a deck that's being extremely popular, that's gained a lot of popularity recently, and she's curious about the deck. She wants to experience it for herself. And normally, something like tarot, you can buy a $20, $30 deck, try it out, and pass it along if it doesn't work for you. But to spend that much money, the deck in question that she's interested in, $95, not including shipping. And that is just a crazy amount, a crazy dollar price for a deck of cards. But you know what? I'm not. Is it a crazy price? Well, maybe. Some people are paying that crazy price, so it must not be crazy for everybody. Is the point? It's kind of the fallout of the video, right? But yeah, so I commented on the video and I kind of said, like, yeah, I wouldn't pay $90 for that particular deck. For sure, that is too much for that deck for me. However, I have spent almost $90, or I have spent in that ballpark on a deck before, for a deck that I really wanted, that I felt that was worth it, you know? So it is an individual, definitely that's my stance. It's an individual thing, you know, money, value, what something is worth, what something is the sort of the market price for it versus the value is always like, it's always a, you know, that relationship is going to be different for person to person depending on their circumstance and how they view, not even necessarily how much finances they have, but how they, you know, relate to those objects or the value for those objects in their life. Kind of. That's a little philosophical, roundabout way. But I video. Lord of mercy. Let me take a sip of my tea. So I actually videotaped this, recorded this last week, my response, my thoughts to this, and it was very rambly. It was a lot. I think I played it back and I think it was actually a decent video. I was going to save most of it and just edit some of the parts where I was kind of spending too much time to pause to figure out what I was trying to say. But in hindsight, there's been more discussion, a lot more discussion in terms of video responses and even follow-up commentary from the creator of the original video herself, Mistress Ray. So I felt that a lot of what I said in my original recording is not really relevant now because it's already been said. I will try and link some of the VRs in the description box so you can see what I'm talking about and do your own research, you know, get caught up if you're not. But there are some things that haven't been said in the community response to this topic that I did want to or at least they weren't emphasized that much, and those are the things that I wanted to touch on today in my response. I have another sip of my tea. So one of the things that struck me the most in the comments to responses to Mistress Ray's video was that a lot of people were criticizing her. So a lot of people were criticizing her for reaching out to the creator of this deck that she wanted to try and review for her channel. She reached out to this creator and had asked her for a review copy or a discount code so she would be able to purchase the deck and review it, you know. The creator never responded to her, I believe, or I think she had took that as a decline, but the creator never responded to her, so essentially declined her offer, and she was a little bitter about that, and she expressed that in her video. And if you know Mistress Ray, that it's very much her brand to be to just be nonchalant, overshare sometimes, get a little personal, get and kind of unapologetically put her foot in her mouth sometimes, you know. that's very on brand for Mistress Ray, and she has a decent following. She's still a smaller channel, but she's got about like 2,000 subscribers. So obviously, people enjoy her way of expressing and that kind of off the cuff authenticity. But in this particular video, a lot of people found it triggering and thought she was being rude and thought she said things that she shouldn't say in a public forum. And that was really unfortunate because I felt that people took her video out of context. They really took her video out of context, and this is a topic that she has spoke about openly on her channel multiple times, about her frustration with her own personal shopping addiction and the fact that, she just feels that she can't keep up with her tarot collecting habits, essentially, her enthusiasm for tarot. So she's talked about this frequently on her channel, and she is someone who frequently also is, she tends to be quite critical of decks and what she wants in her collection, and she's quick to rehome a deck or to rehome a deck if it's not working for her. So she's also mentioned that, she's not a typical collector, so it was unfortunate that a lot of people, as I said, they kind of I feel like they took her video out of context because of the sheer popularity, how quick her video spread. A lot of people watched it, and I think a lot of the people who watched it are maybe, only a portion of those people were her regular viewers, and a lot of them maybe were introduced to her channel for the first time. And so, yeah, they might have been alarmed by what she said and how she said it. But like I said, that's her channel, that's her brand. Wow, rambly ramble. Where was I going with all that? So, yes, she reached out to this creator to try and get a review copy, and a lot of people had criticized her for that and say, how dare, that's distasteful, you don't go to, that's distasteful to, or inappropriate to ask for something for free from somebody, or, just a sense of, felt like that shows some sense of entitlement. And I want to speak to that because I think that we as tarot creators, YouTube creators, really undervalue and undermine our own power of influence and how much of a service that we're doing for these creators, these deck creators. Let me tell you why. I work in communications and marketing. I used to work for a magazine, and so I know the value of advertising and how, what people who have products are willing to spend on advertising, right? Or the methods they go about getting their word out there, getting their product known and seen. And there is nothing more valuable than the latent sort of storytelling, advertising that we do, that we do as content creators. We are storytellers, It's such a valuable form of marketing, and therefore, for one person to review your deck is worth a lot more than what that deck is worth, because we as content creators are constantly directing more sales to these creators. We are, we really, really are. And so print ads are expensive, right? But tarot is a niche market in that most of people into tarot now are not really, they're not going to see an ad for a tarot deck in a magazine. Magazines are kind of dying, right? Print's kind of dying. So everything's going online these days. And sometimes I will see holistic mind, body, spirit companies putting these sponsored ads, sending out these sponsored ads, and I'll see them on my Facebook or my YouTube where it's an ad and it's being paid for by the the publisher or the creator themselves to get this product, their deck, right in front of you. But I don't see a lot of ads like that for tarot. These tarot creators are really heavily relying on us in TarotTube to spread the word around their decks. Instagram creators as well, but I think the YouTube has such tremendous value. Why? Because we allow people to experience with an ad, with a static ad, just looking at the images, clicking through. Okay, that's one sense, that triggers one sense, really just the visual sense. But through this storytelling, we're contextualizing the deck. We're telling you how it feels. You get to hear how it sounds when it shuffles. You get to experience the deck through someone else. And it is a it's almost a multisensorial experience depending on the storyteller and how adept they are. And a lot of us in the tarot community put a lot of work into our videos. I put minimal effort into my videos, and it takes a lot of freaking time. That's why I'm not out here doing deck reviews and walkthroughs and flip throughs and stuff, because these people are really not paying me to do this for the time and energy that it requires to put into that type of content. So absolutely, if you are a content creator who is doing amazing tarot content and doing amazing tarot reviews and stuff like that, or just really helpful tarot reviews, you should absolutely be putting yourself out there and marketing yourself, your platform, and your outreach, and asking for freebies. Ask for freebies, ask for discounts. There's no shame in that. And as a matter of fact, I think that if you were to do that, if you were to take that approach, then it would actually drive you to make better content, because it's like you are recognizing the value of what you're doing, and it's not just like a personal selfish thing, or like, oh, I just want to connect with others and I just want to connect with my tribe, and but it's more so like you actually have a purpose and intention behind your channel. I think that is really cool. And this is a synthesis that I've sort of reached from just letting my own thoughts simmer on this topic, and also listening to a number of video responses on this. So Robin at Toadstool Tarot, I believe that's his name, he did a video about this, and he talked about, what is the intention of your channel? What is the purpose of your channel? And I think that's really important. I think we need to keep remembering that, especially when we get hung up and start talking about community. We don't owe the community anything. The community doesn't owe us anything. It is, I think you need to make the content that you want to make. And that's why I respect Mistress Ray so much, actually, because I see her as somebody that really makes the content that she wants to make, and she really just says the things that are true and personal and is a personal truth for her, And I think through that you find your community, and you find people that fucks with you, whether or not they agree with everything you say, they may not, but they may just like the way you say it, And so Mistress Ray has attained a following, and even though doesn't have a huge following, I think she has a substantial following. And also I see Mistress Ray, she has multiple platforms. She has a Patreon, she has a podcast. So I think it's absolutely correct and good for her to approach a creator or anybody and say, hey, I've got these platforms, this is the work that I do, this is my brand, would you like me to feature your product? Would you like me to review your product and showcase it on my platform to my X thousand viewers, even if it's only 2,000 viewers, that's substantial, So So yes, that is my defense of Mistress Ray, because I felt that her video was taken out of context, and I felt that people were being unfair to her and undermining what she is doing for the community, the tarot community, just by being herself, you know? But back to the whole tarot marketing thing, you know, we need to, yes, if you want to do a service for the community, then you need to, and when I say community, I'm talking about tarot community, and I don't want the tarot community to be inflated with the spiritual community, because not everybody that is into tarot clearly is, you know, has the same spirituality, and our spiritual practices will all look really different, you know? So I think we need to really kind of stop gaslighting ourselves, so to speak, when we talk about the moral obligations and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, like tarot tube, we're talking about tarot. Like, let's just, you know, whether you're talking about tarot in a sense where you're just glorifying decks, or you're talking about tarot where in a sense where you're criticizing decks or criticizing the industry, or whether you're talking about tarot in the sense of you're teaching tarot and you're talking about all the different ways you can use tarot, whatever, pick a lane, it doesn't matter. But we're talking about tarot here. We're not talking about spirituality. And those things are separate. You know, I do think they can be, you know, I do think they're separate in the sense of when we're talking about tarot tube and what it represents, right? So that's just that. But when we make our videos, yeah, we're doing a lot of free service for tarot creators, whether we realize it or not. And one person I watch, Cody from Tarot Readings from a Bitch, she said in one of her recent videos, she was like, yeah, once you pay for your tarot deck, you don't owe the creator anything after that. So also in the comments on Mistress Ray's video, there's a lot of sort of discussion around like what is rude, and don't be, you know, there's one thing to give a critique of a deck, but it's another thing to be rude towards or say anything that's rude about a creator. I mean, yeah, you shouldn't say anything that's rude about the creator. Like, it's not personal, but it's totally okay to criticize and be rude about a deck in your tarot review if that's what you do, and that's you know, or that's how you talk, like whatever, you know what I mean? Like, as long as you're talking about tarot, it's relevant, you know what I mean? Nobody should take it personally, because you're talking about the subject matter. We, as a community, it's not our job to uplift tarot creators and to not offend tarot deck creators. You know, I don't think that's our job. No. So, like Cody said from Tarot Readings from a Bitch, once you purchase the deck, you've done your due diligence. You know what I mean? So, like, what you say about the deck, how you view it, is totally fair game. It's totally fair game, and yeah, that's that. You do enough already then for the creator just by showcasing their deck in any way, whether you're doing it in a tag or a full review or a flip through. That is really that helps out the creator a lot, whether you realize it or not, even if you're giving it a negative review. Why? Because all publicity is good publicity. There's really no such thing as bad press. And that deck that shall not be named, the one that Mistress Ray was talking about and referencing in her video, even though she was kind of roasting it, I bet you that deck that video and the fallout of that video has given that deck so much publicity, like so much publicity since then. You know what I mean? And now everybody's talking about it, and now everybody knows how much it costs too. You know what I mean? So even the people who weren't aware of it before, they're gonna like go look it up now, and they may be intrigued to buy it or maybe not. So, you know, we don't need to be so afraid of offending deck creators, I don't think. It is right for us to use our platform to talk about our joys and our frustrations when it comes to tarot and tarot collecting. It's totally good to do that because guess what? Supply and demand. A few years ago when everybody was bitching and moaning about diversity and lack of diversity, now every deck that comes out is incredibly diverse. Most decks that come out are incredibly diverse, and while we can still, can still be better, it's improved a lot. So we need to voice our grievances and our frustrations because we, as the tarot community, are influencing the tarot market. And if you don't believe that tarot deck creators are using and watching YouTube for market research, then you need to pay attention to these comment sections, okay? Pay attention, okay? They are watching us. They are definitely getting our impressions, our feelings, and they're using it all as feedback. Why do you think decks that are really popular that went out of print or, had one deck run, they end up coming back into print and stuff like that? You're seeing reproductions. There's talks about Bone Stone Earth Flesh coming back into print, being picked up mass market. There's talks about the Fairy Tale Tarot by some other creator coming back. Who's it? Lisa Hunt coming back into print. Bohemian Gothic coming back into print. Victorian Romantic Tarot coming back into print. Why? Because we have been hyping them up on YouTube, on TarotTube. Nobody else is talking about these decks but us tarot tubers, So we are influencing. We do have the power to influence, and we need to really recognize and stop sort of undermining that. And I just feel that we need to, I don't know. And it's supply and demand. We wanted more options. And now we have options, more options than we need, And I think that's just where we're at. But we need to recognize, yes, as TarotTube creators, I think we need to recognize the way that we are influencing this tarot market and take personal responsibility, not community responsibility, but I think personal responsibility. We all need to sit with ourselves and be like, what is the point of this channel? Is it just that am I just here to make friends and participate and have a, I don't know, or am I here to get a lot of viewers, or am I here because I really love tarot and I really want to, do a service to people by reviewing these decks and offer awesome reviews, and with the intention of growing my personal tarot business, or with the intention of actually receiving free decks to support my hobby. I don't know. I'm trying to reassess these questions for myself. That's why you see me making less and less tarot content. And I mean, I do still make tarot content, but I'm not one to do a lot of tags I'm not one to do a lot of tags. I'm not one to do a lot of, flip throughs and walkthroughs and stuff like that. But I try and find different angles for talking about tarot on my channel because that's more what I'm into. I am into the discussion. I am interested in the discussion around the culture of tarot and the mainstreaming of tarot and stuff like that. Yeah. So, authenticity. I think that is a big thing, a big takeaway from this whole kerfuffle as well. A lot of people were inspired and humbled and encouraged by Mistress Ray's authenticity. A lot of people were triggered by it, and that's the thing, being authentic is being really you. Not everybody's going to like what you really have to say, but I think as long as we keep to talking about tarot and not talk about others and not talk about, then it's okay, then it's okay to be a bit controversial or to ruffle some feathers, as long as we stick to the subject matter. Um, and I think it's important for us to continue to share our experiences. I also watched another video recently by Tarot Shrink, Natalia. She used to be formerly Ouroboros channel. She had a whole video, like a 2-hour video, talking about this whole topic. And she was talking about how, we need to share our experiences, and because then we realize that, we all have different experiences and relationships and reasons for coming to tarot, or reasons for our collecting or not collecting, and it just shows us that there's kind of no one right way to do it, but that we are that we, we're all individuals, and we all have an individual sort of gift to share. I don't think that's what I was trying to say. But she talked about also tarot binge process, and she's talked about that before. I think one of my earlier videos, back when I was more grappling with my own, finding my own temperance, my own balance between collecting tarot and using it as a spiritual tool. I did a video response to Natalia around tarot binging and stuff. But basically, the concept of tarot binging is when you have this period of just bringing in a lot of decks, more than what feels comfortable for you, and it's almost like you're looking for something. It's like you're just trying to fill a void, or you're looking for the perfect deck, or for whatever reason, it's almost like a compulsion to it, and then this period tends to subside and to ease, and I do think that from what I perceive from watching Mistress Ray, that maybe she's actually just at the end of her binging period, and she's been vocal about, how it's made her feel all along, and she's at this stage now where she wants to stop buying, And I think the whole binge period thing is very interesting. I think we should all share experiences on our binge period, because I think it seems that a lot of people, even when I read comments, that they say that same thing, that they went through a period of collecting a lot, and now they know what works for them, and now they're good, and they don't collect as much anymore, and just every so often they get an odd deck, but they're not tempted to the point where they can't control themselves anymore, But another thing that one of the comments that seemed to, I feel, that be really unfair towards Mistress Ray, or just misunderstood her, was somebody had said something along the lines of oh, Mistress Ray is just moaning because she can't get a deck that she wants because it's too expensive. And that seemed to be, a lot of people had that consensus, that that's what they felt, that she was just being whiny because she can't afford the things that she wants, which aren't really necessary things anyway, And I felt that was really kind of mean and unfortunate, because they clearly weren't listening to her. And I think, what I understand, what she's trying to say is that she doesn't want any more decks. She's comfortable with the decks that she has. She's done with wanting more decks. But it is so hard when you're constantly being inundated and, flogged with all this, latent marketing, from people just, ranting and raving about how amazing this thing is. And how that can be triggering when you're trying to, when you feel like you've had enough and you're trying to stop from overindulging in tarot or tarot spending. And that's the thing, when you have a addiction or whatever, Mistress Ray, she could buy that deck if she wanted to. You know, that's the whole point. Like, and people had said, like, oh, you could just save up for it. And it's like, you know what? Well, yeah, she could. You know, we could save up for these things. We could all get these things if we want to. You know, just like a crackhead would find money to fucking buy, you know, a rock if he needed to. Like, that's not the problem. The problem is when you feel like you are out of control and you want to stop wanting, you know? Um, that is that's the key point there. And while that is a personal problem, yes, that's a personal problem, it's a personal problem that clearly many people had or have had at some point in their collecting journey, and that's what she was expressing. So yeah, so I think I'd have to make a whole nother video on like my thoughts around the tarot community, because that's like a whole other hot mess. But I think that is one example of the dangers of the tarot community, where, like, you know, something picks up a lot of traction and it gets really popular, and therefore you find yourself watching it, even if it's maybe not a person that you would normally watch, and then all of a sudden you felt like you're supposed to care about this thing or this topic that you would have never cared about and normally if you weren't watching Tarot Tube or you weren't in the quote-unquote tarot community. But that's for another day, because I'm too tired to talk about that whole thing right now. But clearly Mistress Ray's video, the whole topic of consumerism is an elephant in the tarot community that, you know, people don't like to talk about, but every now and again people do talk about it. It comes up every so often, and then you just have people just purging their it seems like people are so relieved when somebody like Mistress Ray, or, you know, other people in the past as well, have made a video expressing this, and then it's like all of a sudden everybody feels so much relief, like, yes, I thought I was going crazy. Because sometimes when you watch Tarot Tube, it is a bit like Pleasantville, or like, you know what I mean? It's like this dystopia, like this spiritual dystopia where everybody is like, you know, finding themselves and healing themselves and, you know, seemingly, you know, finding happiness and fixing all their problems through cards and collecting cards. I mean, I know I'm being really facetious right now. I'm speaking in hyperbole, but that's what it appears like sometimes when you, especially if you watch a lot of Tarot Tube, when you come on Tarot Tube and everybody's just like uber bubbly, uber positive, uber optimistic, and like, yay, the world sucks, but thank God I just got this package today, you know? And yeah, you know, so when somebody does kind of speak on the shadows, then it is kind of a relief. It, you know, it feels like a relief for a lot of people who are like, okay, wow, you know, I'm not, you know, not going crazy because I was secretly or quietly thinking this or struggling with this myself, you know? So therefore, even though a lot of people say this topic is tiresome because it comes up again and again, we do need to touch base on it every so often. And yeah, it is what it is. But let's just keep the conversation around tarot, and I think everything's going to be fine as long as you're talking about tarot, whether it's good or bad, you know, then you have a place in the tarot community on Tarot Tube. But if you want to start talking about other things, then don't be mad if you're not in the tarot community anymore, because, you know, clearly this is just a place for tarot enthusiasts. And that is separate from, as I said, from spirituality. Yeah, so that's basically everything. And well, actually, there is one more thing I wanted to say, and you know, along the lines of like saving up for decks, budgeting for tarot, you know, yeah, I think that's a whole nother level of becoming a tarot enthusiast or tarot collector once you're at that stage of budgeting for tarot, because yeah, they're not essential items and really you only need like one or two. But when you start to get that invested in tarot, that like, now you have like a monthly budget or you put money aside for decks that you want, then like, yeah, you're on that next level. Like now you're a collector, and for some people, maybe it is frustrating for them because they didn't want to get to that stage and it feels like that's the next stage and they're like, oh shit, well, where do I go from here? I don't want to be there. Where do I go? So I think that is also a bit of what I was picking up from Mistress Ray in her video at the stage that she's on in her tarot journey. She's like, the next step would be to become a hardcore tarot collector where now I'm budgeting for tarot for decks that I really want, but she doesn't want to get there. And yeah, that is an incredibly privileged place to be in, I actually have a decent income right now. For the first time in my life, I'm getting like paid like a livable salary. I mean, does that mean I'm balling? No, I've got a lot of like debt from education and just stuff like that. Like I've got, whatever. I have 3 children as well, so you can imagine, like, but I have enough money. I make enough money on a monthly basis that I could afford to buy a new deck, like, once a month, and a new indie deck every once in a while. Like for sure, I could afford to do that, and I could create a little tarot budget for myself to maintain this habit of mine. But the thing is that the question I ask is like, shouldn't I be budgeting for other stuff? Like, like a house or like, so I could be debt free in future. And even though right now my interest and enthusiasm is for tarot, 10 years from now, those other things are going to really matter to me. So, yeah, that's, questions I have to ask myself, and I'm trying to resolve on my own tarot journey, because at the rate that I'm going with my habit, it's not sustainable for me financially either, but I recognize also that I am in a binge period, and I'm actually also coming towards the end of my binge period. So yeah. What is the point of this video? I don't know. I made a few different points along the way, and maybe they resonate with you, maybe they don't. But thanks for watching, and please share your comments down below. I apologize if I have offended anybody. It's not my intention. And let's keep the discussion intelligent, authentic, and open. All right. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.